Hey everybody, and welcome back to Mainstream Monday here on Horror Film Lovers. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody. I'm here with
John Ward.
John Ward. John Ward is back again for another episode.
Another episode. Yes.
Another freaking episode. And we're doing Paranormal Activity 3, you know, and
I'm going to state this right from the beginning. Out of the now, I've seen them all except for Next of Kin, but I haven't seen them for a while. Um, Part 3 is the one I dislike the most. I'm going to say that up front because and this is the only one out of all the videos that we've done from the start to now. I have never taken notes, and this time I took notes
because you wanted to bash on it.
Yeah. So I think it's it's funny as I thought when I that it was each one made more money, but it isn't. It's like one made the most, then three, then two.
Mm-hmm.
So I still think two is my favorite. Three, I think, is the worst, even though it made more money than two.
Out of the first three,
Out of the first three. Okay. Yeah. Just discussing the first three. Yeah.
I'll say this is my least favorite. I'll agree, that this is my least favorite, but
kids are boring. Kids are boring. Unless they're named Damien and they're in a franchise called The Omen, they're not interesting. Kids are boring. These little girls are dull. And the film itself is boring. And I don't feel that there is any good reason for them to be recording. I think in some of the they give him the excuse that he's a wedding photographer, and I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying it. I also how out of the three, this is the only one where I wondered where the light was coming from. It's like because it doesn't look like it's like a filter or day for night on the camera. It just looks like blue light.
I will say though that it has some really cool moments, in it. And we'll get to those, I guess, because
I just don't. I don't. The kids the kids aren't interesting. Kids are boring. That's why they're dull. I knew nothing about these kids. If there weren't parts 1 and 2, I would, and if let's say this was the first one, I would have no idea who these kids are, what they're about, what they like. I know nothing about them. They're
you
just
never really get to
boring kids.
Yeah. Let's see what the IMDb rating. It's a 5.8 on an IMDb. That's pretty low, actually.
Some people say it's their best one. A lot of people think this is the best.
Someone wrote senseless but scary. If you enjoy the first two, you'll enjoy this. Obviously you don't feel so. No. Long live the reigning king of gotcha. I don't know what that means.
I guess jump scares.
There's a couple.
Gotcha jump scares.
Yeah. So, all right. Delivering the scares, an effective prequel. So, I mean, I guess some people dug it. Some people sort of.
It's one of those problems where it's a prequel where nothing is mentioned in the first and second movie. So the kids know the demon is Toby. So why isn't Toby mentioned in the first two movies?
Because it wasn't came up with until this movie.
Right.
And that's the problem. Yeah. You're right. Absolutely right. They shouldn't have named the demon Toby, or whatever. But I guess they had to call him something, right? And stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the name because the name is, I think, kind of throughout the whole thing from part 3 on. But it's just I just found it weird that now, of course, I like all the stuff with Katie and the sister, Christy, I think is her name, when they're adults. So I like that we saw that stuff with them. because I always just like looking at Katie. I think that she's gorgeous. And so I like all the stuff with the adults. I just think the stuff with the kids is just not interesting. I think everything, even like the kid running around the house, the younger sister running around the house, playing with Toby was boring. The
Now,
only thing, well, I'll say is the only thing I liked with that is when she's upstairs in their bedroom and she's kind of going along the wall, and I guess Toby kind of lifts her up and just
and
slowly
throws her.
brings her.
Oh,
Doesn't throw her, just brings her down.
but there was one point where she got thrown, right? She got like puffed, like air just
I think
through
that's
her.
the older sister
Was that the older sister?
yeah,
Okay.
I don't think it did anything to the younger sister. It was
Well,
like
it
the
was
younger
mad at
sister.
the younger sister though, right? Because the younger sister was the one who talked to him and stuff. And
It's
then
he because Toby didn't want her to say stuff. He's just like, shut up, just shut up. And then the boyfriend that's only been there for 3 days that lives in this house with these kids. I mean, it's and I'm making up the day, but it's because at the party he goes, "I want to thank you all for letting me be part of like this family or being in this." And he's a boyfriend. He's not a stepdad because the woman, the mom says my boyfriend, and it's
right.
like so he's introducing himself and thanking everybody at the party. How long have they been dating for him to completely move into this house and
And
be around these kids? I've dated women where I've even met the kids for like a year.
And what is it with these movies where there's like the stepdad always or something, or now the boyfriend? Like it always seems to have that thing. Like the first couple, which is, them. I don't know if they were, I think was that their child together? And then they had another child, right? No, wait.
Wait for
Katie and Mika. Didn't they have somebody? Didn't they have a
no,
they didn't have anybody. Okay.
no. They mention Katie mentions in part two. She's like, oh yeah, I'm always at Mika's house anyways. I might as well just move in.
Right.
And that's when she was dropping off those like the videotapes. And I
Right.
do like that we didn't see that in part two. We see that in part three of her dropping the tapes off.
Yeah.
Because in part two, we never see that scene.
Right.
So I like that it's like, oh, it's just footage that we never saw. They
Mhm.
just decided to tack it on three. But it's I'm questioning the date on this, as far as the boyfriend moving in. I mean, I don't
It was
know.
1980 something, right?
I think yeah, it says it right there on your thing.
Uh,
1988.
1988. Yep.
So maybe I mean, I graduated high school in 86. So I was pretty young. I mean, I wasn't living with anybody at the time. I was still at my parents' house. But I don't know, back then, I mean, child trafficking wasn't as well known, or maybe molestation wasn't really well. I don't know, but it's just kind of weird. I just don't think a single mother would let this guy move into their house, which seems very quick.
Right.
Because even her mother, the grandmother that they discuss, because they say, "Oh, Grandma Gymie or whatever her name is, left me all this stuff." And then we meet the grandmother in
Yeah, because we go over her
1988.
house, right?
Yeah. And the grandmother is, which this bothered me. When I was dating the evil one, her parents and brothers hated me because I worked at Blockbuster Video. And I always questioned Laura why she was dating me. Like if her family had such high standards, why are you dating a guy that works at Blockbuster? And she didn't really tell me. I don't remember. She just didn't really tell me why. But this reminded me of that when the grandmother's like, this guy doesn't even have a job. And she's like, no, he does. He records weddings. And she's like, really? That's a job? Like, is he going to do
He's
anything
got a
else? And
really good
she,
editing suite, you know?
yeah, it's all in his, yeah, it's probably what he spends most of his money on is
It's what
that. And
spends
she's,
most of the movie on. Like, there's so many scenes with him and his buddy. down there checking all the footage of all the different different stuff or whatever.
Yeah, it's and then the girlfriend says, well, he has a business, but it's like, oh, but okay, so God, and it just brought back horrible flashbacks. But it's yeah, I don't know. I just don't buy this one. I just don't. I don't think it's horrible. Like I wouldn't skip it if I was doing a marathon
My
with somebody.
my favorite scene though was the scene where they're playing Bloody Mary and all this crazy shit happens. The kid and she wants to play Bloody Mary. For some reason though, that makes no sense because they live in a fucking haunted house already and she knows it's haunted. She's seen things. So it's not like she doesn't know this house is, and she wants to go play Bloody Mary and he lets her, you know? That guy, I would have been like,
Oh
no.
yeah, the yeah. Well, and that's another thing is how long have they known the guy for the assistant
Yeah,
to just leave him with the two girls? So I
right.
don't know. Maybe I'm thinking more present day when it comes to kids and
Maybe
not
they're
thinking
not. And
1988.
which was actually kind of smart because if you think about it, because there's so many, movies where they might not even think about that. You know what I mean? They might not look at that going, oh, that would be a problem. But no, you know what I mean? Like, I, honestly, I didn't hate it. I did think it was out of all the first three that we watched, it was my least favorite. But that doesn't. I mean, it had moments where I was into it, and I didn't mind the kids. Kids didn't bother me. I'm so used to seeing m movies and TV shows with kids that uh, uh you know, especially when I was growing up watching stuff or whatever with kids. As an adult, it doesn't bother me. So I
It's
don't
just you
know.
got to make the kids kind of interesting, and that's unless they could see dead people, just kids aren't that interesting. They just do dumb stuff. They say dumb stuff. It's they interrupt their parents for something stupid. I mean, there's a reason why I never had kids because I just don't really like kids that much. But I just, I don't know. I just don't,
I,
you know.
I
But with saying that, the two things that I do care the most about, and I do put this first: animals and then kids. So those two things I think are very important to protect, from predators or abusers or
or killers,
cruelty
you
or
know.
killers. Yeah,
Yeah.
that. So with me saying I don't really like kids, I do think that it is one of the most important things that we need to look at.
I
As far as I'm concerned.
I watch I help babysit my niece's son, so my grandnephew, I guess. And I still call him my nephew. I like I guess it's just easier than saying grandnephew, you know.
Okay.
But anyway, when I watch him, like I'm extremely happy and I like I don't know, things are just different, when you're around kids a lot, or whatever. Because I was around my niece when I was growing up. I was helping her out, babysitting for her, babysit for my nephew. It's just, so when I see a movie about kids, yeah, I feel the same way about you do, where I want them to be okay. But the problem with this movie is we already know they're going to be okay. So I
That's
ain't,
the issue with prequels. Yeah.
yeah, the prequel's like, they're going to be okay. You don't know if their parents or whatever, whatever happened to the father, I don't know. But like all that stuff, like the original father, of them, like, but the boyfriend and the mother, you don't know if they're, because you never hear anything about, their mother, mother and father in the second one. So I assumed they were gonna die, or whatever. Which you would think like, did they live with their grandma? After their parents died?
Yeah, I mean, I guess otherwise they would be put up for
And
adoption. I'm assuming, to skip to the end of the film, with them snapping the boyfriend's back and
hmm
killing the mom. I guess the mom served her purpose. by having the two daughters. So she was no longer needed, even though she, because I guess, even though she's young enough to where maybe her and the boyfriend could have a kid and it might be a boy. So then I'd
Hmm.
be the first, like male born, and then they could use that little boy. But the grandma just decides to kill both of them and then walk away with the two sisters. They walk up the stairs.
So the grandma was in on the whole thing?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess that's because remember because Katie talks about in the first one that I think it's in the first one that it could be the second. I forget, but the grandmother came into some sort of money, and
Right.
that's in the books that they read is that the person has to make a deal with the demon, and then they like get a lot of money, but then they have to later on, I guess, sacrifice the first male born. So I guess so the grandmother, maybe before the grandmother, nothing happened.
Right.
But with the grandmother forward, and then maybe she joined that cult afterwards, or she found out about the cult, and they're like, hey, if you
The cult of
like,
Toby.
yeah, if you sell your soul or something, you can become rich. But hey, down the line, you are going to have to sacrifice a kid. And the grandmother's like, oh, fuck yeah, I'll do that. Sure, why not? As long as I'm rich. And then that's what she did.
Um, yeah, so it says at the end, Dennis hides with Christy in a closet before walking in the kitchen, where Dennis, from a window, sees a woman circling around a bonfire instead, or outside. Uh, see the women circling around a bonfire outside. Katie and Lois is in the same room as Julie's body killed Dennis. Lois then beckons to Christy and Katie and tells them to get ready. Before they head upstairs, Christy calls for Toby, and growling sounds are heard upstairs until the camera cuts and the film ends.
So they must have somehow been, and I'll say this, I don't think it's ever answered. They must have somehow had a memory wipe,
Well, I
because
mean, they were
that's,
young enough where maybe they just kind of like
I don't
maybe
know. I I
Toby
I
goes
remember.
away.
I remember. Yeah, but you're going to remember your mother being murdered and her boyfriend being snapped in half. I think that would leave a pretty big impression. And then grandma taking you upstairs to get you ready for whatever it is.
Well, did you
And
notice they didn't cry or scream or freak out? I'm thinking they might have been somewhat like possessed by everything, like magic
maybe
or
yeah, I
something.
guess
But it's
it's,
never said, you
yeah,
know.
it's at that point that maybe once that triangle with the eye in it starts getting involved,
Hmm.
it's not really them.
Yeah.
Because obviously nobody expected this to be a franchise. So in the first one, Katie's not going to be like, oh yeah, my mom was murdered and her boyfriend got his back snapped, and then we went to go live with my grandmother.
I don't even know why we need to know this information. Like,
A prequel
yeah,
information.
why did we have to have this?
I don't know. It's this is a little apple and oranges, but in Silence of the Lambs, we hear Hannibal's background. Like
Right.
there was the when he went to the concert, the symphony, and the one guy, I forget what it was, violin, flute,
It's been
whatever
a
it
while
was,
since I've seen that movie.
yeah, is playing it totally off key, and we hear, and they tell us Hannibal murdered him and then served him up as food for the people that like give money to the symphony and everything. So for some reason in Red Dragon, which is the prequel, we see that. Why do we need to see it? We already know it.
We already know it's existed. We don't need
It
to see it.
Yeah, it's not in the book because I've read the book.
Right.
Now, Will Graham being, stabbed, that is in the book. So we want that, I guess,
I
in
guess
Red
if you're showing
Dragon.
a prequel, if you're doing a prequel, right? Red Dragon was a prequel, right?
Yeah.
And so was him stuff. So you're gonna want to show kind of the greatest hits of what happened. You know, this to me.
But not if you tell it in Silence of the Lambs,
Well, they
which of
never
course they
told
didn't
it
know
in
would be
Paranormal
such a hit.
Activity 2, like things like they never or Paranormal Activity 1, I guess it would have been well 1 or 2, but they never once mentioned Toby and knowing the demon's name and all that stuff, which makes me wonder if you're right, if they had their brains wiped somehow,
Yeah,
magic
because
or whatever, because
it's a giant if and maybe and all of that. I mean, it because Katie didn't tell Mika some things because remember Mika got kind of mad when he's like, well, it would have been nice if you told me you had a demon following you, before we moved in together. So maybe she just wasn't telling him the other stuff.
maybe he didn't know, she didn't remember the other stuff. Maybe she didn't
That
it didn't like a, I mean, I don't know. Then this gets iffy, you're right, like because you could say that the people didn't remember until, oh no, now I remember. But like having a demon in your life, seeing your parents, your at least your mom and your stepdad or your her husband or boyfriend
the
murdered in
boyfriend, yeah.
front of you and stuff. But once again, it goes back to that thing of like they didn't cry, they didn't go, you know, Dennis, or or yell, where's mommy, right? Like they just followed the woman up, like the grandma, and they did everything Toby asked. So like something, I feel like they got um bit or something, got possessed by Toby, you know. That's gonna be
But
my
then,
guess.
but in part two, they don't know what's going on. The younger sister, I think her name is Christy.
Christy,
They
yeah.
don't. They don't. Yeah, they don't know what's going on until once they realize that they're haunted and they read about it and it's brought up. Then they send it to Katie. So why wouldn't Kirsty go like, "Oh yeah, we had this happen when we were kids, and my grandmother was there, and my mom was killed," and they act like it's never happened,
Yeah,
even though weird stuff did, because like Katie finds like that burned, or the Mika finds the burned photo that's up in
right.
the attic, and it's yeah. I think prequels are a tricky thing. So it's, as we know, it did not work well with the Conjuring universe. They kept retconning and
Mm,
filming new scenes, so we know
right.
that didn't work. And I did watch, as you know, like the Fast and the Furious films, and so far out of everything that I've watched, that seems to work
The
best.
best. Yeah.
They seem to be very well aware of what they're doing and how they need to, why Judy Dench in, like Hobbs and Shaw is in prison, and then which is the spinoff. But then in the next Fast and Furious, Vin Diesel is with. Can you imagine? Judy Dench wanted to make the Fast and Furious film. She wasn't asked. She asked them,
Madam Judy Dench.
Madam. Yes, she asked to be in those movies. That, which is
I love
hilarious.
her. But see,
I think she's awesome.
there's a lot of there's a lot of great English, whatever, British actors who just love coming out for these movies and doing these movies because well, I mean, sure they enjoy the paycheck, but I'm sure it's a lot more than that. I remember like, who would have expected Helen Mirren to be in Teaching Mrs. Tingle, you know? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I don't think she asked to be in it, but I think when they said, "Hey, would you like to be in this?" She was like, "Sure, why not? I get to be a mean teacher, you know?"
Yeah, I think what Judy Dench said was when she was asked, because it was on British television, is the interview that I saw, is that she goes, "Oh, you don't have to act." which is kind of true. You're not playing some historical figure. You're just
Yeah,
playing like Jason Statham's mom. And like I was saying, in the next Fast and the Furious, Vin Diesel brings it up because now she's out of prison.
right.
And he's like,
But
"Oh, I heard that you're in prison for 6 months." And she goes, "Well, yeah, like that place could hold me."
yeah,
So it's so I don't think these would work if you watched them in
I,
chronological order. Definitely not.
I'm gonna get to that in a second too. But I'm gonna mention that I think it's really funny that you're saying that about Judi Dench because all I could think of is somebody coming up to her or she coming up to the director going, "Excuse me, but what is my motivation?" Oh, never mind. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, okay, it's not that type of movie.
It's not that type of movie. I'll just
Yeah.
wing it. No, the chronological order thing is funny because yeah, I did look it up and they tell you how to do it in chronological order, but it's just more dates, right? It's date, date, date. But if you really do this in a chronological order, you'll be really pissed off watching this movie because you'll be like, why haven't they talked about Toby? Like, what's going on with Toby? Like, why don't we know Toby's name in this movie? And it's once again, it is because they decided to give us some more information in the prequel, which we should have gotten in the sequel. We should have gotten Toby's name in the sequel, right? Somewhere along the line, like, in part four, saying something in that, to that aspect, like Toby's name. And all of a sudden now, you know Toby's name now. You've never known it before. But if you do it in a prequel, you're like, wait a minute. You know what I mean? So I think they messed up in a way.
You kind of just have to, I guess, take it for, maybe they're just the sisters as adults just aren't saying the name, because that's Katie just keeps saying, "Be quiet, don't say anything," and in part
Yeah, but
two,
yeah,
so
that's true.
maybe, and you can't, you would have to, you can't watch these in chronological order because of the flashbacks. Like it wouldn't make sense to watch part three with the flash forwards to the sisters as adults. You would have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, it's only cool to see Katie in every single one because we know who she is from the first film.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make, and let me get this out of the way now. So this is my Blu-ray. So this is which is funny is I'm looking at your picture. It's the same day. Your
Oh,
picture
cool.
is September 24th, 1988. This is September 24th, 1988. This is 1:18:26 a.m. and yours is p.m.
PM, yeah.
So this happened before your picture. So,
Yep.
so I thought that was kind of cool when I saw your picture. This has on it the theatrical and the unrated one, which I did watch. I have no idea what's in any of these. I don't know what's different. I don't remember. There is a thing called the lost tapes, 20, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it was, somewhere in there. And it looks like it's just footage that they didn't use.
So
I don't think
they don't have any like commentary or anything on it.
nothing. No, there's nothing. It's theater all
Blumhouse,
so far.
man. Well, I'm
This
gonna
would
say
this
this. I'm gonna
should
say this.
be,
Blumhouse, gotta get your check together, man. Get
as
some.
of right now, this would be the definitive box set because it has next of kin. This is it. Why they didn't bother doing more, unless more is going to come out later. But yeah, it's theatrical, unrated, nor trailers on there sometimes. Normally you get, I guess technically it's deleted footage, and then like scenes, and
Mhm.
then sound. Otherwise there's really nothing. Yeah, it's nothing else. And then they give you the poster so you can flip it if you want.
Oh, okay. So
But
it's reversible. That's cool.
yeah, and that's on all of them, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um, but I have here, so, and this is in order, so we could talk about it if you want.
Okay.
Um, so one, I love that it's Santa Rosa, California, which I know Santa Rosa very well.
But
So I
did you
love,
notice anything? Like, did it look like Santa Rosa?
it was probably still shot in LA. I
Yeah, it's
think
so funny that they say those
there's
stuff, but most of the time they spend the time in the house anyway. So it's not even
yeah.
like you really get to go outside and explore, which, yeah,
Yeah, and that's Katie's well, Katie's birthday when she's the little kid, 19 so it's September 3rd, 1988 is Katie's birthday and it's in Santa Rosa, California, which I love. After night 1 is my birthday. It's September 10th,
nice.
1988. So I thought that was cool. I thought it was funny that the boyfriend does call Katie a little monster at her birthday. So I thought that was a little kind of a
Little
little
homage,
joke
a
to her.
little like what homage, like a little foreshadowing.
Yeah, just just a little joke. I'm guessing then Katie would have been born in 1980, so I think that she's around like 8, maybe, because Katie, the actual actress, it was born in 82.
Yeah, she's
So
my
they
age.
yeah, so they got the the dates and the ages pretty right. Um yeah, boyfriend has only been in their lives a few months and lives in the house, and the mother is okay with him being around the two girls. Um,
Once again, it's an '80s thing.
yeah,
They
I
didn't.
guess maybe.
I mean,
I mean,
nobody really
shit.
had
My
stranger danger until like late '90s, really. And then
well,
it got worse and worse.
I mean, thinking about it, my mom had the boyfriend of the month, and at times that boyfriend of the month would come back for another month and then another month, but there was always guys.
Right.
I was freaking left with them all the time. I mean, so yeah, I guess. I mean, I didn't know who these guys were. My mom barely knew them. And it's just like, oh yeah, I got to go to work here. Bob will take care of you, and
I
I
mean, they
was kind of
trusted the other friend, the assistant, so well, to babysit and everything. I mean, whatever.
yeah, it's kind of weird. Where is the light source coming from to brighten the rooms at night so the camera can record them? It's like I said earlier, it's the only film so far I've questioned the source of light because it's
Right.
blue. It's not just like dark with the moon shining through.
Right.
So I don't understand that because it's not on night vision. Um, I'm assuming there are VHS tapes. I'm assuming those are VHS tapes. I don't think cameras would record. Oh, I'm assuming these are not VHS tape cameras. I don't think the cameras would record consistently for 6 hours. I think they would turn off, and this comes from personal experience of using
Mm.
VHS cameras. You hit the red button, and it records for like 20 minutes, and it assumes you're gone,
I
and
mean,
it turns
tapes don't
off.
last 6 hours, do they?
Yeah,
They do?
VHS can go 2, 4, 6. Some of them can even go 8 hours. I remember those
Mm.
being really, really important. Like you had to, oh man, if you had an 8 hour tape, you could record everything. Um, the camera on the rotating fan, I thought was a great idea.
Thought that was pretty cool. But the problem
Yeah,
I mean, it drove me crazy because they did do it really well, where it was so slow at times. And I'm like, get to the area. I want to see what's going on over here. That was more, I think that was also more to the script because when they did that and it would go that slowly and everything, you knew something was going to happen at some point, like when they was going to go into that other room slowly, you're like somebody's about to be attacked or something's going to happen, you know.
yeah. I remember the kitchen furniture falling. So I was always looking for when it went to the kitchen
And
and
then the kitchen was
seeing
all
if the
gone, everything
furniture
was,
was
yeah,
there.
no
Yeah,
furniture was there. Then she was like, "What?" And then that
that
was a
was a good
great
scene.
scene.
That was a good scene. Yeah,
Yeah, that was great. I loved it.
yeah. The grandmother reminds. Okay, so I already brought this up with Laura's parents hating me. If Toby is tall, which she says he is tall, who is under the sheet in the kitchen with the babysitter?
Maybe he's like kneeling.
I don't know. I mean, we're obviously supposed to think it's one of the sisters because it looks like a little kid,
Right.
so it fools us when it
Once
drops.
again, that was cool. I mean,
That
there was
was a
some
cool
cool,
shot too.
yeah, some cool
Yeah, no, there's
shots.
some good stuff in this. Um, Film takes place during summer. Oh, during September. So I thought that was cool. Um, Toby messes up the girls' room and hurts Katie, little Katie, but nobody in the morning sees that the girls' room is messed up. Did the girls put it back together?
Maybe.
So she's being flipped around and everything, and that room is getting
Maybe Toby did it.
destroyed.
Maybe Toby was like, "Oh, well, now I got to clean this mess up."
Well, and once who's what? Who you guys never saw that in the video? You're checking the video every single day,
There was a
every
couple times I
hour.
questioned that because I was like, why are and we're gonna be talking about the fourth soon, and the fourth had a couple of those questions too for me of like people why aren't people checking the fucking things and seeing all these crazy things happening? Like you're recording them. Why aren't you watching them? You
Uh,
know?
well, there is a reason, but it's a dumb reason for part four. But yeah, in this, if they're checking it every single day, why didn't they see Katie being thrown around, getting dragged into the closet?
Well, they did.
What
They saw the her getting, or was it Katie or was it the other sister? That gets like the you said, but that got pushed, that got like thrown, you know,
See, I
because
don't
of
think
the
she was
air.
thrown. She was just moved and dropped
No, no,
down.
I'm talking
She
about the one
they
that
were
was like thrown, like there was like air or whatever, and just shot her out.
I don't think they saw that. Did the
I think the father did see that because he looked at it and goes, "What? No, wait, did he?"
I don't think so. No, and it wouldn't be the father, it'd be the boyfriend.
Boyfriend, that's what I mean. But
Yeah.
I keep calling
So
father, even though he's like the father figure, you know.
yeah.
And he's sleeping on like the yeah, he's yeah, he was in another room, right, or something.
When all that was happening, the mother was sleeping and Toby turned on the TV to static. Because in 88, like Poltergeist, that's what you would get. Because there was
Right.
no all night TV. It turned off at like 1 and you just get static to like 5.
I
So
remember
she
those
had the
days.
oh yeah. So she had the static, and then he was editing with the headset on like you have. So nobody could hear it. And it was when Toby got done messing everything up, the TV turned off, and then you see him take the headphones off, and he's like, "Huh?" Puts it back on. So, but
There you go.
why they didn't see that? Yeah, Grandma Lois, that's her name. Grandma Lois kills her own daughter because she is no longer useful because she didn't have a boy. So I brought this up earlier, but I don't know why the mom couldn't have a boy. Like give it another shot.
I mean, they leave the house to go stay at her house because they thought that would be safer because they back then didn't know that Toby could travel with them. Went with their, because that was the prequel. But then they just go to that house, and that house is full of witches and that coven, that the whatever, the Toby worshippers, which makes me laugh because um remember in Ghostbusters there was like Tobin's spirit guide. I have it actually. I have a uh whatever of it. I got it somewhere, and oh, it's right here. It's right here. This is the Tobin Spirit Guide from
Okay.
Ghostbusters. And it was just supposed to be a book they mentioned. They actually made it into a real book, which I thought was kind of cool. It'd be cool if Paranormal Activity did interesting shit like that on this, in their world, because people will buy it, I'm sure. Um,
Well,
but
there's probably a Bible. All franchises eventually have a Bible for writers and directors to follow. So yeah, they probably have something to release.
yeah, they could.
So
Um,
and then I'm guessing when the grandmother made the deal with the demon, that she put the demon on the youngest daughter, and at a certain age, the demon popped out. And that's when all this, so we're kind of seeing the beginning of the demon torturing her. well, being friends with her but torturing Katie,
Right.
and then she transfers it to Katie. So at some point, I don't know, at a certain age, maybe because, or has that been happening since the younger daughter was born?
Well, she was a dumbass for doing. We talked about that before. She was dumbass for doing that because then it just got her killed. And they went after her firstborn. You know. So right.
Well,
So
wait, but she didn't. She knew of the demon, but I don't think that she knew the gravity of it.
right. Well, I don't. Yeah, I don't think she knew that her firstborn child would be firstborn male child would be the sacrifice for, so when they have
I don't
Hunter.
think they knew any of that. I think they just knew that they were. Maybe it's kind of like Insidious, where where they hypnotized the father and son, and so they didn't know anything until it kind of started popping back. I mean, in Red Door, they're fucked up like that. Them being hypnotized to forget that period messed them up. Like it was
Right,
not a good thing, and they became distant until it resurfaced.
right.
And
It happened,
so
yeah, it happened
maybe it's the same thing.
happened in Insidious, and now it's happening here too. So that's interesting. Um, maybe, maybe that's what's going on because I don't know. We never saw any of that. That it would have been nice if there was a scene at the end instead of seeing Toby or whatever, like growl, or whatever at the end. We could have seen um the grandma like do some kind of magic thing. I mean, she's a witch. Do some magic spell, just you know, and uh
Yeah,
and
but
make
somebody
them.
would have to record it.
Yeah.
Well, who would record it?
Who was recording it when they left? I mean, maybe one of the coven the ladies in the
I don't
coven.
think that they want anything recorded. I mean, that's one of their things is, all the men that are recording these. See, well, up to this point, up to part three, it's all been men that have been recording it,
Yeah,
more or less. I mean, I guess the daughter in the second one was too, but they do all seem to die.
yeah.
Daughter from the second one just is somewhere. No idea where she is.
The daughter from the second one.
Yeah, because remember at the end they say that she's the one who found the bodies of her parents. She
Oh
was on
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
field
The
trip
daughter, the daughter. Okay, no, yeah, that's right. And that was, you said she was your favorite character too in that one.
because she wasn't your typical movie like teenage girl. It
Mm,
wasn't, I hate you. I hate you both. I wish I was never born. You're destroying my life. And now I'm going to go out and smoke and drink. And it's not all that fucking bullshit that she said on TV. It's like she likes her brother. She likes her mom and dad. She's obviously very close to the dad. And I like that she was just, she likes her boyfriend. And so it was refreshing not having a nagging, whining, annoying teenager. It was
yeah.
like, oh wow, she's actually like a nice person.
No, I agree. Um. So yeah. So she. Yeah. I guess. I mean, she was still alive. I wonder if she ever comes back. I mean, you can tell me now. Like, does she ever
No,
come back? She's never
no.
brought back at all. That's kind of a
I
bummer.
don't I don't think so because I only thought of that from watching part two this time. Like, oh shit, where's the daughter? In fact, the dog wasn't even back. The dog was still in the hospital. Like, where's the dog?
Hopefully at another person's house, not dealing with any kind of fucking demons.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and my one last thing on my phone is that Maria Olsen was one of the witches at the end.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
That's.
I once I saw it in the credits, I remember that, and because I
Oh,
think it's on her IMDb when I was
I
looking
love
up her
Maria. She's so
IMDb.
sweet. I
Yeah,
used
she's
to
a
chat
nice
with her all
person.
the time
Yeah,
and
she
stuff,
was.
and I didn't realize how, like, because she is so humble and sweet. Like she's not one of those people who. She's kind of like Why am I blanking on her name? Lynn. Lynn Shay. Lynn Shay is just really sweet and down to earth, and I'm like. your brother's freaking, ran the, you're an Insidious. You should not be on Facebook chatting with people. And she loves her fans. She loves people talking to her about it. She's so
Sure.
sweet. I interviewed her. I mean, she's so sweet. So there's people like Maria and Lynn who are just so amazing. And I'm glad they're in these movies, because like that's just amazing to me. So. All right. So yeah, I guess, is there anything else you wanted to add about this?
Uh, trying to think. I mean, it's the film is okay. It's just out of the three, I think this is the weakest one.
I mean,
So yeah,
the scenes I liked in it were the scene with the scene that you were saying where all the things were up in the air and then fell down, all the like the kitchen stuff or whatever, dining room table and whatnot. And then I liked little things. I like people getting thrown around and junk. At one
that's always
po
good.
at one point the girl's hair gets pulled up and
I
she's like
like that.
lifted up.
That was messed up. Yeah, when
Yeah.
Toby just
Just grabbed
yeah.
her, pulled her by her hair, and like she's
Which
like,
is
ah,
maybe why Toby is so violent to her in part one, is that Toby never liked her
yeah,
because he doesn't really get violent at all with the younger sister. Well, no, that's not true. It does. It drags her. It drags her
yeah,
in the
drags her,
house. Yeah, so it's violent with both of them.
yeah,
I
and
guess
then
it's just
yeah,
depends on its
in the
mood.
second movie, it was really violent toward the sister, yeah,
Yeah, it drags her down the stairs and
yeah,
everything.
and she tries to get back up, she drives her back down. I
Yeah,
was like, she is like, she kept trying to get to her son, and he was like, nope, that's my son now, bitch.
yeah.
Um, you know?
My
So,
hunter.
so anyway, and then I also liked the when they were playing Bloody Mary and all of a sudden the stuff was happening in the outside and all the 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 whole the door was shaking and everything, and then they go to look out and all of a sudden all the chairs go start like going across the room or whatever really fast and like oh shit, it looked like the wind was blowing it. I thought that was
Oh,
pretty cool.
yeah. I like the earthquake.
Earthquake was pretty cool.
I looked that up because of the time period. I was wondering if that was the Northridge earthquake, which I was in, and it wasn't. It was like off by a couple of years. So I guess it was just like a random
It was
earthquake.
probably a real, I mean, or I was thinking, well, I was thinking it was might been um what is it? The house was just shaking on its own, like the Toby was shaking it, or whatever. But I think they talked about the assistant talked to him about it. It was like, oh yeah, did you hear that
Yeah.
earthquake? So
Well,
then I was like,
it's yeah.
fuck.
California's on the fault, so it's yeah. Santa Rosa would definitely be hit.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we're at that time. You know. Um, all right. To kind of talk about the I guess what how well it did. How well did it do, John?
Oh yeah. I got that right here. So, like I said earlier, I always thought that three was the most, then two, then one, but it's not. So, um, it made a total. So its budget was 5 million.
5 million.
Yeah, and part two is 3 million, and then part one was 1,500. Um,
So
so it
part one won first. Like that's number one. That like no one. No, I don't think anything could beat number one. I mean, that's right. None of them can defeat how much money number one
no
made.
part three came close. It's I mean worldwide, part three made more money than any of them,
Which
but like
was
which was 207 million.
okay. So the other ones have not made like 300 or anything.
No, part one did 193 million. Part 2 did 177 million. So that's worldwide. But just like in the United States, Paranormal Activity made more money and then was part 3 than part 2. So yeah, I guess part 3 did make more money than any of them.
Hmm. Hold on, I'm looking up because I know Get Out made a shit ton. Okay. On a budget of 4.5 million, it made a 255 million. So I guess that beats, that beats Paranormal Activity. But uh I mean that's we've talked about this before, but that's the beautiful thing about Blumhouse is they're very smart. They Hollywood should be taking note of at least Universal and or Disney or whatever should at least put one to five, maybe even uh very, $1 to $5 million movies. So if you put really cheap movies and then you get a huge, box office return, right? You know, then I mean, I guess you could do that easily for horror. I don't know what other genre. Comedy, I'm sure you can do that for a comedy or for something else. As long as you have a big enough name star, people go check that out, and then you'll get millions and millions of dollars, and you'll recoup your money. You know?
Well, that's what a lot of criticism of this year is. Like, why are all these movies like Indiana Jones, Mission Impossible? Why are all of these movies, Little Mermaid, all this stuff? Why are they costing so much? Why are they making so much money? And that's one of the reasons why these smaller Barbie. I mean, Barbie did make its money back, but why something like Sound of Freedom was had pretty much like a normal budget and
Yeah,
it
they're
made
like,
like a gazillion dollars.
yeah.
But that's the thing, is that you need to make a movie for 5 million and then get 20 million back, 30 million back, and then you've recouped everything and more. I don't think people, that was my criticism with like Friday the 13th when that remake came out. Why is it so expensive? It's like that budget for that one film was like the price of all the other Friday the 13th.
I mean, I
So
guess it was Michael Bay, producing it. It didn't need to be that much.
no, because it didn't look like it cost more than,
And they
let's say,
didn't
like
have a
part
huge
6 or
director like
anything.
that guy, the guy who directed that movie, had only done I think it was Marcus Nispel if I'm correct, but he had only done like uh music videos at that time. That was his first feature film, or whatever. And it was okay. Like I liked it. I didn't hate it or anything. I didn't think it was the greatest movie of any of the Friday the 13th. In fact, I think it was pretty low on my list of my ranking for Friday the 13th, which at some point we gotta do all the Friday the 13th movies. We're gonna do all the Paranormal Activity and whatnot. We'll get to there at some point, I'm sure.
Way down
Um,
the road, because we still got Saw.
we got Saul and we got other shit, so I'm sure. Maybe we'll
Yeah,
do it
I mean,
after Saul, but we'll see.
yeah, I mean, I guess it's just none of these movies need to cost this much money, and that's why they're failing. But
Mm,
if but because we'll see how, speaking of Saw, well, look at Insidious 5. The movie made a gazillion dollars because it didn't cost anything. You just put a room and you throw up a couple different colored lights and you put in some smoke and you're in the nether or whatever it was called. It's so simple to do, and I don't get it. I mean, we'll see how Saw does. Saw 10. Um, and because, as I'm sure, that's going to actually, let's quickly look that up. We'll look up what is Saw's 10 budget. Let's see, because this should not have cost a lot of money. I'm assuming. So its budget is 13 million.
uh, it says Saw's X is estimated to be 10 million. I don't know.
Wikipedia, it says budget
Yeah,
13.
Wikipedia says 13 million.
Oh my God, it's almost 2 hours.
I
Okay.
get because it is
Okay.
like the 10th of the movie franchise, and by then, you can kind of sort of get away with a bigger budget by then,
But
or whatever.
13 million is still small.
I know it's small in the
You know,
standards of like Hollywood, what Hollywood, it's not a blockbuster movie, none of these are. These, even though they make more than, in a way, make more of their budget than the fucking Hollywood movies do, because Hollywood movies spend $300 million on a movie, and then they only recoup maybe 200 million sometimes, and they flop like Shazam Fury of the Gods or whatever, Indiana Jones 5, I think you said, did pretty badly, did pretty poorly.
that is something I believe that's like the fifth most expensive movie ever made because of all the reshoots and everything. I mean, there's like four different endings, and Indiana Jones dies in one, and then there's his younger self that sacrifices himself, and there's all this stuff that was shot that we've never seen
Hmm.
because the test audiences. So yeah, I mean, that's not going to be just $2. They got to spend probably a couple million.
That's what Disney does. They make the movie and then they do reshoots, right?
That's all under Kathleen Kennedy.
Well,
That
not
that's
just
because
that, not just that, it's also Marvel. Marvel does lots of reshoots. So they're always going back and doing all that money. And I was watching, I think it was a Project Greenlight episode of or earlier Project Greenlight, probably like two, or yeah, I think it was two. And they had like a little bit, saved for reshoots, you know, or whatever,
that
just
well,
in case.
yeah, that's always put into the budget.
Yeah.
But I would say until basically Disney took over stuff, you weren't getting a ton of reshoots. I mean, because all
Right.
that stuff was worked out in advance. And then yeah, if you it's like, oh shit, we forgot to shoot Iron Man walking into a house, then you go out and you put some guy in Iron Man suit, and you use that money to shoot him walking into a house. But the way that Disney is these days, especially with doing all the screenings, is they're doing all the reshoots because people hate what they're doing.
Right.
So they just keep reshooting and reshooting and reshooting and reshooting. So it's the same thing, with the Paranormal Activity films on that documentary. They talk about they just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot, and then they just cut out what they don't need. But
That's
it's not
smart.
reshoots. Yeah. So
That's smart.
there's yeah, and
Like,
and
do
it's
that.
because they
That's a good idea.
yeah, there's not a solid script. It's some of it is ad libbed and some of it's on the spot. Some of it's the day before. So, it's and that's just how they do the paranormal. Now, I don't know. Maybe Next of Kin was maybe because it's more current, it was more solid. But in from what they said with the at least like the first few, it was like, well, fuck, we don't know what to do. And then it's like, oh, we'll do a prequel. Okay, so now you just shoot.
There you go.
Do you have a movie?
Yeah, well, I guess we talked about that enough, especially with the movie itself. Do you want to do the rating?
Sure. So we're doing
You
the
you
one out of five.
1 out of 5 stars.
So I really liked one. I liked two even better. So I think I did 3.5 on the first one. I think I did 4 on the second. So I'm gonna give this 2.5.
2.5. I was gonna give it a 3. Like, I think I liked it a little bit more than you did. I didn't mind
It's
the kids.
it's
I didn't mind some of the stuff in
it's
it.
close to a 3.
It didn't
It's
really
it's
bore
close.
me at all. Like, I was into it, So, um, I don't know. It didn't it I liked the guy. Like, I liked the boyfriend enough. Like, I wasn't Like you were questioning why is he there? Why is he doing everything? I was just like, this guy's fun, you know? Like I liked him. He had a personality to him. So
I see, and I'm in a different. I'm the opposite on that. I found him
yeah,
kind
you
of
you didn't really find
boring.
him.
I
Yeah, you
didn't.
found him
He
boring.
just wasn't
So
that interesting. I mean, I thought he was creative because he did the fan, but yeah,
I dug him. So
yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. We don't always have to. We always most of the time we kind of disagree on stuff. So
I
I'm
mean, the
not
mom was hot,
surprised.
so at least
Julie,
we
I
got
think was her character name.
yeah,
Julie.
at least we got hot mom.
Yeah, they seem to always have a sort of a hot mom, you know?
Yeah,
Katie's
that's
pretty
true.
hot, but she's not a
Sister's
mom,
hot.
but
Yeah.
yeah, their sister's hot, and so there you go. I mean, they know how to pick beautiful people to be in the movies.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, until we talk about the next one.
Well, and I did look up Katie. I think when I was watching this, I looked up IMDb, and I don't know what happened. I mean, remember when I talked about the river on the last video? Um, I don't know what happened to her because reading a little bit of her bio, it's like she actually went to acting school, and like she was, the waitress who got the big break,
She
and
could have been
just
told sort of to act that way, or something,
I don't
kind
know,
of
but like
whatever.
nothing's happened. Like she just really, she's been on like a couple TV shows, like
She was
or
in a
like
movie that Mel House made. Because she's from Texas. I think that's where they shot Paranormal Activity. Or they shot it in California or whatever it's supposed to be, but like she's from Texas. She's a Texan. So I think some of it but she was in a movie called Walking Distance. I don't know if you heard of that or not.
yeah. I mean, I think I saw that on IMDb. It's just when you look, it's very small, and so I'm just really surprised that some of these people didn't go on to do bigger things, even low budget. I mean, shit. Look at all the known actors and actresses that star in movies that you and I make. I mean, we could actually, for a long time, you could get Michael Madsen to be in your film, and he's been in
Hmm.
Tarantino movies.
I
So,
mean,
like,
you can still
why
get
couldn't
them.
you? Oh wait, who am I thinking of? Who died? Tom
Tom
Sizemore. That's what I'm
Sizemore.
thinking of. Yeah, Tom Sizemore is who I'm thinking of. But so it's like, well, why not have Katie? Why not get her to be in your movie so then you could say, Katie
Maybe she asked
Feather
for too
Feather.
much.
Maybe I don't know. It's weird just seeing like nothing
I
there.
mean, maybe she asked too much for the independent film people, and that's why she just keeps holding off for bigger projects I mean, you never know with actors. There a lot of times they're just auditioning and auditioning and auditioning, and so when they get their big breaks or whatever, that's great. But sometimes, most of the time, it's just like we've got a million people auditioning for your for this one project, and the best person that's most right for that role, as a director, if you're going to cast somebody, you want
Yeah.
the person to be the exact, what you're thinking of.
Right. Or I mean, like you write a script with Katie in mind. Or
Right.
you write a script and go, you know, I need somebody to be a mom. Let me get Katie. Let me try to get a hold of her agent or something like that and see what what it would take to get her to be in my film. I just find it weird that she's not even in just low budget movies or medium sized movies or shot in backyard movies or nothing. I mean, did she get married and have a kid and now just wants to be a mom? Is Hollywood not her thing? But she'll come back as Katie for the Paranormal Activity films because it's like a day or two of shooting, and she probably gets like a little chunk of change. Um,
But she's
I
not in
mean,
all of them though, right? I'm looking it up and she's only like the marked ones is her last one.
no, she's in all of them.
Uh,
Trust me, she's in all of them.
okay, that's weird. She's not credited on IMDb in all of them.
Yeah, she's in all of them.
Weird.
She's
Um,
she's not in Next of Kin. At least I don't think. I mean, I haven't seen it, but the like I mentioned on the other video, the what I heard from the one critic, or I'm sorry, from the filmmaker, he said no, the one critic said the demon is the only link. And
Oh,
then when I rewatched the documentary, one of the producers said, yeah, it's standalone. It has nothing to do with the other movies. So I don't even know if the demon is in it. I mean, if Katie does make an appearance, she's not listed,
okay.
but I don't think so. I think we would have heard something. But yeah, no, she's in all of them.
All right, cool.
I'm because it doesn't have her listed for the marked ones,
It does have her listed for the marked ones. It doesn't have her for the next one after that.
which is what
Um,
the
the
ghost one.
Ghost Dimension.
Yeah, she's in that one.
Okay. And it doesn't have her
Yeah,
listed as that, and it doesn't have her listed for next of kin. So I've
I am certain that she's. Well, no, wait, maybe maybe she isn't. I don't know why she wouldn't be. I know the scene because it's only one scene. I know the scene that she's in for marked ones. So maybe she isn't in Ghost Dimension. That wouldn't make any sense. She should be in all of them.
she should be in all of them.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Um,
Maybe she isn't in Ghost Dimension.
she's been directing, by the way, some shows and some she's directing a movie called The In-Between. It's a comedy drama, so maybe she's moving out of
Maybe she
acting.
went to directing. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe she wants to move out of acting and do other stuff. A lot of great actors go on to go and do directing, so I love that. Well, anyway, that's it for this episode. We will be coming back and talking about Paranormal Activity 4, which, by the way, I thought Paranormal Activity 4 was the marked one, so I started watching it. And then I go, wait, this seems really weird. This is out of place. Am I watching the right one? And I went back to Paramount Plus, and nope, I had started watching the fifth one, I
Oops.
guess, or or whatever. I guess it's the fifth one. It's the one that was made right after. Right
Yeah,
after.
it's the spinoff, so it doesn't have a number. I'm looking here on Wikipedia. It does say for Ghost Dimension, it is the first installment not to star Katie Featherston,
Yeah. Okay.
but she is referenced often.
Okay, maybe that's why you thought about it. Like maybe you heard them mention her or something.
Yeah, it says most of the film involves the young Katie from 1988 from the third film.
Oh, that she was okay, but I didn't. I think the older Katie is a better actor. All right. Well,
Yes,
we'll.
yeah. So it looks like, yeah, because it says here for the Ghost ones plot 1988. Yeah, Kirsty. Katie and Kirsty watch Dennis's spine is crushed by a mysterious force. Grandma takes the two girls
All right.
upstairs.
I don't want to hear like you're
You already
telling.
know this. It's from part three.
I
I'm just
know, but
saying that the beginning of Ghost Dimension is the ending of part three.
oh, okay.
So it looks like, yeah, the man speaks to the girls about Toby. Yeah, so it looks like maybe this does not take place after part four,
No, yes,
or the
not.
marked ones. Looks like maybe it's something. So well, I guess we'll find out. I don't fully remember.
It sounds like they're all kind of out of order right now. So whatever.
Yeah, we'll find out.
All right. Well, we'll be back for part four, which was a pretty interesting one as
Quattro,
well, So,
Paranormal Activity Quattro.
well, no, that doing the Spanish would be with the marked ones, then that's when we start doing Spanish because
Oh,
it's all Hispanic. Anyway,
that's true.
yeah,
It is.
yeah, so that's what
Which I
threw me off. I was like, wait a minute, is this the same story? What is going on here? So
I think marked ones was a good idea.
I
I
was
like
liking
that
it.
it kind
I
of.
was liking it. I was like, this is great. And then I realized, oh shit, I'm watching the wrong one.
It's
So
kind of like a superhero movie.
it was
You know,
pretty cool
it's
from what I
not
saw.
really. Yeah, it's not really Paranormal Activity once it gets involved. It's more like, was that Brightburn? It's more like that type of thing.
Well, that'd be cool. Or
Yeah.
what's the other one? The other found footage one.
Oh, the one
Chronicle.
done by, yeah, Chronicle by Fan Four Stick, from the director of Fan Four Stick.
Yeah. Who also did a movie called Capone, which I tried watching and could not finish. Got it for $1.25 though, so you know.
I,
But
I would own it. I would love to interview him. I'd love to
Josh
own
Trank,
Josh Trank. Yeah, I'd love to interview him.
he's I wouldn't mind interviewing him too if
I
like
didn't
he
hate Fan
wanted.
Four Stick. I did not hate it.
It's
So
probably not the movie he wants to talk about though. If he wanted to be on one filmmaker,
no,
one film, he would not want to talk about that because that was not a
no. Let's get his opinion out there. You know,
I don't think he's allowed to say anything because otherwise I think he would have said something for somebody by now,
yeah.
you know.
I mean, I'll probably never get the chance, but you never know.
Well, anyway, who knows? But thank you for co-hosting this tonight
Oh yeah.
and everybody else join us in 2 weeks for another episode of Mainstream Monday. Bye.
Bye.